Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing an amplifier and subwoofer in this 2016 Ram truck. Now in this install we're going to show you how to integrate this amp and sub to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Now a couple of things to note, like I mentioned before, we already have an aftermarket radio in the truck. So it's easy for us to integrate a new aftermarket amplifier to it. Now, if we were running the factory radio, there's a couple of options on the market to allow you to integrate a line-out converter depending on the trim level of your truck. If you have the upgraded audio sound system like Alpine or Harman Kardon, you may or may not have a factory sub that you'd have to tap into. If you have the base audio sound system without a factory amplifier, there's a lot of great products on the market, and we can link some in the description if you have a factory radio. Without further ado, let's head to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to use in today's install. So here at the bench, now the parts we're installing here today, first and foremost is the amp and sub that we've chosen to go with. Our customer wants this 1500 watt amplifier at 1 ohm. It's an awesome solution and it provides plenty of power in a really small platform. The subwoofers obviously aren't shown here. We're going with two Skar audios and a Skar audio custom fit box that'll fit great in the cubby underneath the rear seats. They make them in 212s and 210s depending on your needs. Now in order for us to integrate this into the truck, we do need a wiring kit. We're going with this Skar Audio OFC 4-gauge amplifier wiring kit. This calls for a 4-gauge. Anything bigger than this size of amplifier, you probably want to up this to a 1-aught kit. Now, like I mentioned, because we are running an aftermarket radio, we don't need any sort of line-out converter or anything else special to this install. But if you were running a factory radio, you're going to need some sort of line-out converter or some way to integrate into the factory radio in order to install your amplifier. Again, we'll link those various pieces additionally in the description below. So first thing we need to do is get our amplifier wired up. We'd like to do it here on the bench versus in the truck. It's a lot easier to do that. We can make a nice clean mount here, and this will go up underneath the rear seats, not in the cubby, but actually the seats themselves. Now you can see here we already got a piece of ABS plastic. This is about 1/8 inch, and it was a 12 by 12. We cut it down to about 8 by 12. It fits this amplifier perfectly. We mounted our amp to that, and we cut out a hole here, and this will snag one of the main bolts holding in the rear seat. So it'll mount into place, and there's plenty of traction and grab that'll actually tack to the carpet. So that bolt will hold our amplifier rack without it sliding around up underneath the seat. From this point, what we'd like to do is go ahead and get everything wired at the bench. We'll make our connections first. Then we'll take everything bundled together to the truck and get it installed there. So let's go ahead and pull apart our amplifier wiring kit. We're going to get our power wire, our ground, our remote connected, as well as our speaker wire output. On this side of the amplifier, we have our inputs. It also has a pass-through, which we won't use, but we got our RCA inputs as well as a bass knob cable input that we'll want to connect as well. Alright, so we went ahead and got our amplifier all wired up here. We got ground, we got power, we got a remote terminal wire. Remote terminal wire will go this way with the RCA cables on the passenger side towards the radio. Power and ground will go on the driver's side, and we'll ground our amplifier in this vicinity where the amplifier is going. Power wire is going to go all the way through the firewall into the engine bay to one of the two batteries, depending on what trim truck you have. Speaker output, there's two sets of terminals. It is a mono amp. They just give you multiple sets. You don't have to bundle wires in one set of terminals. Since we only have one terminal cup on our subwoofer box, we only need one set of terminals on the amplifier. So we chose one positive and one negative, and ran that down, added ferrules there as well. Goes along here, along the remote turn-on wire, out this side. Now on this side of the amplifier we have our RCA cables, which will go out towards the passenger side, and our bass knob wire, which will stay on the driver's side. That went back this way, and it'll go out this way. So basically we have 2 pigtail ends from our amplifier mount. So at this point, this is all done here at the bench. We'll coil up our wire. Let's head back to the car and get it installed. Alright, so our amplifier is more or less in the spot that it's going to go. We still need to tighten down the bolt there that'll hold it in place. But our RCAs, remote turn-on wire, and sub-output wire go that direction, back behind the wall. And then we pop this panel on up, fish our power wire and our ground wire down here. We're going to make a ground kind of in this location here. Our power wire and base knob wire will go forward underneath these panels. All of them easily just come up here. We're going to go up through the B-pillar. Now with the same technique of popping these panels up using a panel tool, we'll also apply on the passenger side as you run your RCAs and your remote turn-on wire on that side towards the radio cavity. Now we pulled our power wire just about to the kick panel firewall area up underneath the steering column. So we now need to find access to pull that power wire through the firewall into the engine bay so we can make our connections at the battery. Now depending on the trim level of your truck, this happens to be a 3500. Being a diesel, it has 2 batteries, one here and one on the other side as well. Now if you have gas only, you're going to generally only have 1 battery, and that may be on either side, just kind of depending on the setup of your truck. There's a nice easy grommet at the brake pedal area that we'll pass our wire through, and our positive post is here on the left hand side. We'll want to make sure we add our inline fuse included with the wiring kit as close to the battery terminal as possible, as that'll protect the run all the way to the amplifier. So up underneath the steering column here, now there's a big unused grommet right there, and somebody's already passed wire through. You may or may not have that grommet. If you do, it's a really convenient location. We also have the manual transmission version of this truck, and even with the manual, that grommet still remains unused. So we're going to use that spot to pull our power wire through. Now, if you don't have that grommet, your main OEM grommet is right up there, and you can poke a hole through the side of it and pass your wire through there as well, similar like what we've done on the channel in the past. So we're going to make a little slit in this grommet, pull our power wire through that grommet, reseat it back in the firewall, then pull our power wire towards the battery. All right, so we fed our wire through that grommet there, poked a hole, passed it on through, nice and easy, passes right down underneath the carpet towards the kick panels at the amplifier, nice and clean. So let's go on the inside to show you where that passes on through. Here on the inside, that's where it all passes on through. Now what I did is I split loom that wire, run it up. Now we made a fuse holder mount out of ABS plastic. It was leftover plastic from our amplifier mount, and we just screwed it into the battery bracket, the big thick battery bracket with a 10mm bolt. And that basically will allow us to mount our fuse and fuse holder with a nice short run that'll go up to the positive post on the battery. Now before we hook this up, let's go ahead and get our ground prepared up underneath the carpet. We're gonna head back there and show you how we're gonna make our ground. Now we went ahead and pulled up the carpet here. We're gonna do a nice body ground at this location because there's no factory ones that are really accessible in this area. So we have a wire brush. We're gonna clean up the paint and we're gonna tap a 10mm nut and bolt in this location at a nice thick portion of the body. This will have no resistance. We've done this plenty of times and it works great. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our wire brush. All right, so we got our 10mm grounded there, nice thick metal. It's over the spot welds, so it's one of the thicker portions of the body. Clean up the paint with a wire brush so there's no resistance there, and tapped a 10mm bolt in that position. So now we can go ahead and reassemble this panel. So with our panels all put back together, we can go ahead and slide our subs into the pockets. With our ground done, we went ahead and hooked the positive up to the battery here. If you're worried about making this connection, go ahead and disconnect the negatives. If you have 2 batteries, first make your positive connection, then put the negatives back on. So at this point in time, with this all done and zip tied and cleaned up, we are done under the hood. All right, so we continued running our RCA cables like we did, same technique as the power wire on the driver's side, but over here on the passenger, running along the kick panel. From this point, we need to go up and over underneath the dash to our aftermarket radio that was installed previously. So what we need to do next is we're going to route those over there. Let's pop the radio out. We need to connect our RCAs to the base or sub output of the radio and connect our remote terminal wire to the remote or amp output wire of our aftermarket head unit. Now we're here in the truck. We're ready to go ahead and pull out our factory or aftermarket radio. In this case, it's already aftermarket. In the first video here, linked in the description, we actually walked you through step by step on how to install the doubled in the factory location. So let's go ahead and get the radio pulled on out. Now these 2 screws on the top, they could be a Phillips, they could be a 9mm, but in our case, they're actually a T20 torque screw. After those 2 screws are removed, now we have a panel tool. What we're going to do is start just unsnapping it. It comes in one big piece here. Now we have the 6-speed manual transmission. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, we moved a little bit. Go ahead and pull the gear shift out of the way. We're going to lay this down. I mean, you could keep everything plugged in and get to the radio, but for the purpose of this install, we're going to go ahead and just quickly disconnect the harnesses off the back of this panel. Once those are removed, next you're going to have 4 9/32 or 7mm screws up and around the radio. Give the radio a tug, it should come on out. Let's go ahead and connect our amplifier turn on to the JVC's blue-white wire is their amplifier turn on wire. Use a crimp cap. Perfect. Our RCA cables will go to the sub output on the back of the radio. So we can tuck everything back in the dash here and reassemble the radio in reverse order. Everything tuned, it sounds fantastic, got our EQ all set up, and that's about it for this install. Now if you have questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. If you like any of the parts that we used, we'll link those down in the description at your convenience, along with the radio install video. We did a bed camera install video, front speakers, rear door speakers, the works. We'll link that all down below. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.